November?
2018.
2018 already.
Yeah.
Started as service personnel on the station, but he has a background in electricity and is now one of the technicians and assembler for the motorcycle. So we really can create and transfer skills here. We are now starting to get the third generation of technicians within our staff. So that's very good to see how those skills are built here on ground, on the motorcycle and on the charging stations.
Round of applause. You're from Buama?
No, I am from, my Ugandan village is Machindia, but now I relocated to Janja.
Okay, Janja.
Janja, yes.
Okay.
And as I know, as scientists, you're always looking for a good read. And maybe also for the professor. I know professors always like to read. That's so you will also get one. This is from one of our donors who captured our story, but basically a year ago it stopped. But you see a little bit of the background, how we started and why we started it.
You know, I was watching the show.
Oh, you watched the show?
I know I had I ended at intellectual property. I will continue. I arrived here. So,
I see.
Is this story part of that?
Yes,
show?
it is. It was captured as part of the show.
Yeah.
So now let us move to...
Thank you. And keep innovating, keep thinking.
Definitely.
Improving them. And giving men like him hope.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's why we wake up every day.
Yes.
So let us look at the International University of East Africa. But before we have a comprehensive discussion here, you know, in Mobility City, we had neck-to-neck competition between the electric bike and the electric charger. So allow me to introduce to you the two competitors who went neck-to-neck and gave our competition a lot of vitality and fire. International University of East Africa. Gloria and Ian. Gloria, you come so that the Honorable Minister can also see you. Yeah, and now they are no longer enemies. The competition is done. So, can you pose with the Honorable Minister? Please come out so that the two competitors pose with the Honorable Minister and we show the world
It's usually good to have
that when we have to compete, we will compete. And when we are done with the competition, we get back to work
learn
together.
from each other. We work together.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe we come this side.
Minister in the middle.
Right.
The Minister in the middle. Yeah.
The mayor at the extreme.
How are you? Please cover these ladies on my right as well.
Private sector foundation.
Private sector and the private Kajingo.
No. She's a board member. Private sector foundation.
Private sector foundation.
Yes. Wow.
Cover me too, please. Don't leave me out.
This has made all my stress worth it.
Okay, now, are you please tell us.
Okay, thank you.
You first come and greet these ladies.
And before Agawa says anything, when I took over as minister, when I'd just been appointed, I undertook to meet the staff who are in the former ministry. And I didn't know them, but I was meeting them in batches on Zoom. And when he was talking, he talked about this motorbike. I was like, wow, okay. So I kept saying that, and I think I sent you.
Yeah. You sent it to me and
yeah, this is the kind of thing that we want. And I actually asked Gasigwa, who sent me your number, because I didn't know any of them. But you stood out to me because you are focused on innovation.
Yeah.
You focused on it, and I captured that from the Zoom meeting, so I wanted you to know.
And right now he's a rock star, the whole world knows him. Yeah, he has been on the talk show, he broke down house. Yes, thank you. Edwin, tell us what you're doing here. We are all very excited. And I'm going to come back and talk to you. I want to manage to university in this particular campus. I want to buy stake.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, and thank you, the Mayor of the Mobility City.
Yeah.
This is a 5-year program which has been running now in its 6th year now. And the focus, one primary and one objective was the engineering design. The engineering design of a modern electric motorcycle. which can substitute the existing internal combustion engine motorcycles. So our job, first of all, in the last 5 years, in the last four prototypes we have done, is doing the engineering design. So this is the commercial prototype. This is a semi-assembly component of a chassis. And the reason I brought this one, because we are building it, the reason I brought it here is show you the component parts, the second objective of the project, which is component manufacturing of what we are doing ourselves. This chassis frame, the entire chassis frame, this one, the only thing we are not going to be doing ourselves is only the shock absorber system. But the rest of the frame, from the battery racks, the entire chassis, the luggage rack, to the seat rack, to the stands, all these chassis, 90% we're going to do it ourselves here in Uganda. So we're only going to be adding these shock absorbers and
which we will localize.
Yeah, with time. Yes, we shall be able to. The second aspect we do ourselves is the seat. This seat, the leather, we do it here. We have people who are doing it. We get it locally, and the foam, the mattress.
Universities in Uganda that have supported this initiative. I want to thank SDI, of course, in partnership with the President's Office, to make sure that this has come to happen. All the media networks that are here, we want to thank you for being part of this wonderful cause. We feel that this is a new birth.
Check sound, check sound.
Uganda. Thank you for joining us. And of course, feel good, walk around, see different innovations, and of course, we are all working together to make sure that Uganda is better and better.
I hope you're comfortable.
Yes, I am.
All right.
Sorry, I put the bag down. Okay. It's okay.
But do I keep my phone?
Excuse me? Can I put these things here or they'll doesn't hurt anyone? Eh? Must we put on this?
No. You have set distance. And we also like for visibility for people to identify with you. Yes, for them to identify with you. It's not every day that we speak to engineers. And you have several
Sorry? Yes.
We are here with you, bringing you a panel of engineers to discuss an interesting and vital topic. We'd like to bring and discuss a topic on the role of engineering in the social and economic transformation in Uganda. In view of the SPI, science, technology, and innovations that we need, and this is in the office of before you is the colleagues of the engineering fraternity, and I'm going to introduce them. Right on my right hand side is the engineer Innovator, and he is an acting assistant commissioner for energy efficiency and exploitation in the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. He has quite a lot of experience. Years as an energy auditor since 2012. And he's going to talk to you at length about this topic.
Next to him is our lady among the three gentlemen, and she is a dean of the Faculty of Engineering at Chambugu University. She's a mechanical engineer by profession. She is engineer Dr. Kathy Wandera, and she deals with the production engineering, manufacturing engineering, and she has nurtured before her quite a number of students. Last but not least is the gentleman on her right, who is Engineer Ronald Namugera, and he is the registrar of the Engineering Registration Board. This is a body, he will be talking about it, that brings and regulates the engineering in Uganda. At the same time, he is working with the rural, he's working as the manager for policy and strategy at the Uganda Road Fund. I'd like us to start the panel discussion on the topic, role of engineering in the national socio-economic transformation of Uganda. And here, the viewers should be interested to know whether engineers really matter or not. And I will put the question, maybe first and foremost, to the registrar to enlighten us about the position of engineers in Uganda. Are we many? Are we few? Let the registrar, Engineer Ronald, talk about position of engineers in Uganda.
Thank you, moderator. First of all, good afternoon, our viewers. And thank you for the question, the role of engineers in Uganda. Moderator and viewers, you will agree with me that engineering and the role of engineers is felt in each of aspects of development in Uganda. Engineers are in charge of the massive infrastructure development we are seeing. If you look at the projects engineers are doing, USMID projects across the country, we have about 10 new cities. Engineers, when we go to agriculture, modernized agriculture, again, that's engineering who are doing it. We have had a challenge again with water. We have a Katosi water project, all that's engineering. You look at railway networks, we need to connect to the sea through a standard gauge railway, all that is engineering. And also, if you look at the bridges connecting this country, engineers recently worked on the New Nile Bridge. Many of us are very proud about it, Mr. Moderator. People go and take pictures there. This is an engineering wonder. We have also recently done the expressway. So engineers are felt in every aspect of our economy. Maybe I also need to add that all these engineers who are doing this wonderful work are actually registered engineers in Uganda and are registered by a body which we call the Engineers Registration Board. And currently, we have a total of about 1,406. That is 1,406 registered engineers. And if you go around the country in all these departments of engineering, you'll find that these registered engineers are taking very, very technical and vital works and assignments to develop this country. So, moderator, I think engineers are everywhere in the country. I didn't mention the biomedical field. We are also in the health. When we go to the health science, again, we have our engineers running these places. So we are felt. Thank you.
I think now we can come to Kathy. What you might not have added, she might be able to add. Really, we have to ask, is that enough? What is Uganda's capacity compared to elsewhere?
Yeah, thank you, moderator. Good afternoon, viewers. Actually, when you look at a survey by UNESCO, the number of scientists and engineers in the developing world is really low. It's even much lower in the poorest developing countries, and sub-Saharan Africa is one of those areas that are struggling in numbers of scientists and engineers. And today we are talking of science, technology, and innovation and its contribution to socio-economic development. In the developed countries, we have 20 to 50 scientists and engineers for every 10,000 in the population, while in the developing countries we have less than 5 scientists and engineers for every 10,000 in a population. So it means that our capacity is still low, and no wonder still in our countries, in Uganda specifically, we still have so much need for infrastructural development. I mean, from the initial stage, the virgin, we have to increase our road network, we have to increase our water supply systems, we have to extend our electricity connection. We are still doing so bad in these areas, and yet these are the areas that define socioeconomic development. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think we can continue on that note, on the socio-economic aspects. Do we really need the engineers? I think, David, you can chip in and add to what she's saying on the enlighten the public.
Thank you, moderator, and good afternoon, viewers. First of all, allow me to first define who is an engineer. And I think it is very important we understand who an engineer is before I discuss the role of engineers. Engineers use the knowledge of mathematics and natural science, which are gained by study, practice, or experience, to come up with solutions. And these solutions are applied economically to utilize the natural resources for the benefit of a society. And mankind comes first in the society. So basically, these solutions are for the benefit of mankind. When you look at Uganda's economy, when we were still young, we used to be told that the backbone of Uganda is agriculture. So we are an agricultural economy. We either grow crops or rear animals. And we depend on engineering to do most of these things. When you look at the manufacture of tools, the role of an engineer to design that tool for agricultural application. When you look at every aspect of transporting goods, the agricultural goods, the role of engineer to design roads which are sustainable for the benefit of the agriculturalist to move his or her goods. When you look at communication, ICT, it is the role of an engineer to come up with solutions which support this agriculturalist. So you find that as an engineer, I have a very important role to play in the economy in order to take ourselves to the next level.
Okay.
I want to first stop here.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, David. Maybe you stop there in the meantime, but I think we get to Ronald to add on. I think there's this monster word when we talk of infrastructure. Infrastructure, they are talking of roads, various things. I think, Ronald, you could enlighten the public by talking about the infrastructure and where there's a need, where is that need for engineers, whether we have in plenty or not.
Thank you. I think infrastructure, moderator and the viewers will agree with me that any economy worth talking of is defined by the infrastructure they have. You can look at the developed world. You see, when they are showing that they are developed, they are very, very eager to show off their road networks, their railways, and things that are infrastructure. So even in Uganda, you'll note that we are putting a lot of effort on infrastructure development because this is an enabler to our economic development. You cannot move goods from A to B without a good road. We also know that bridges help us with connectivity. We have quite done a number of bridges. You cannot move from one point to another when there is the River Nile. You need to cross it and want to move goods. Railways, also other infrastructure we are investing in as a country. And all these are an enabler to our social and economic development. And another issue, moderator, which we want to add on is the sustainability of this infrastructure. In this new age, when we design infrastructure, they should be sustainable both and environmentally sustainable. We know that what we have been talking about recently, the COP26, every issue is about climate change. We know engineers, as they are doing this infrastructure, we are supposed to look at how we can conserve our climate. We are not the last humans on Earth, so in any design we do, we have to make sure that the world will stay safe and others who are going to come before us should be able to find this world very safe to live in. So engineers and infrastructure, you can't divorce them. All development of the country is on infrastructure development. So if we look at cases like China, which has suddenly developed very fast and is challenging most of us, if you look at their development, it is based on their explosion in their infrastructure development. So Uganda, I also think we're on the right path. You'll note that most of our work is on infrastructure development. USMID project is targeting developing infrastructure in all these cities and municipalities. I think we're on the right path, and we really need engineers to play an active role in this infrastructure development.
If we may add on, I would like you to add on. Take the infrastructure, for example, of the rail line, railway infrastructure, and we have engineers. So how come we are not doing it ourselves? What are we lacking? What should we do?
Yeah, I think
in order to transform this economy?
Moderator, I think on the railway we are actually very late to construct our railway. We have the capacity to do the railway. I think we have skills, but we need to develop them more. It should be noted that this railway, once it's put in place, should be able to, first of all, reduce on the costs we use for maintenance of our roads, and also will enable us to have a fast connection to the sea. We are a land-linked country, so we need that railway to connect us to the sea. Then we use the roads to distribute the goods. But when it comes to engineers in that sector, I think we have developed quite a number, and now we just need a chance to use our engineers to do this work. We also know we have the engineering brigade in the army, which has also got quite some capacity. And I think if we bring all hands together, we work with the Engineers Registration Board, which has quite a number of registered engineers and actual experience in that field. We also have the Institute of Professional Engineers, that's the UIPE. So in my view, I think if we work as one unit, we get the ERB, the Institute of Professional Engineers, the Engineering Brigade, and also look at our local contractors under UNABSEC, who also quite got some experience in this. We should be able, as a country, to develop this railway ourselves. We shall get skills retained here, and also as a country, we shall make sure that much of the resources are actually used and retained in the country.
I think I would like David also take it up from there. When we talk of infrastructure, we also include energy. And I don't know where we are in terms of energy and engineering. Energy, what is it that we have? What is it that we lack? What is it that we are going to need in order to transform these social and economic activities of Uganda? David, as the acting commissioner in the Ministry of Energy, I'm sure you have quite a lot to tell us.
Thank you. In terms of infrastructure, when you look at energy, as you have said it, it is an enabler for development. Energy takes care of a number of issues which we need to transform people's lives. Electricity, as an example of an energy source. Access to energy can transform anybody and anybody's life into the next level. Right now, when you look at hydropower plants which are being developed, they are based on the availability of engineers. If the engineers don't design the dams, then we will not realize the hydropower plant. If the engineers don't design the transmission lines, we will not have the power plants. If the engineers don't design the distribution lines, we will not have the electricity distributed to the consumer. If the engineers don't come up with the technologies to actually get this electricity to the very final consumer, look at the metering technology, communication technology needed for metering this electricity, you'll find that actually consumers will still not have access. So you need interventions of engineers at any stage of electricity infrastructure. Look at transport. We need fuel, and we only get crude oil as the resource. You need this fuel refined into usable fuels. So crude oil has got to be transformed into usable fuels, and this is the role of engineers to transform the crude oil into usable fuels.
Let's get back to the basic person in the village.
Yes.
Fuels, you are talking about fuel. Please get us there. The common man down there, does he really need you in the energy sector? What are you providing?
Yes. Sorry about the complicated terms. Yeah. I'm talking about kerosene, the usual paraffin we use. I'm talking about petrol we use in our vehicles. I'm talking about diesel we use in our vehicles. If we do not have engineers to handle all of these kind of technologies, to produce petrol, to produce diesel, we will not have goods moved easily if we are talking about road transport. And if you don't have electricity, you will not have these fuels again processed into the final products as you see them. Therefore, an engineer has a very big role to play there. Let's talk about the basic science of cooking.
Yeah.
If engineers do not devise means of producing the heat required for cooking, or do not devise means of using electricity to cook, then the common person, the common Ugandan may not be able to cook. So it is the role of engineers to make sure that all of these are available.
We hear about those energy-saving stoves. We hear about the world worried that the trees are being cut, and when they are cut, we are affecting the environment. So what is the role there of the engineers? Are you giving us more efficient stoves? Are we anywhere in how does the engineering come in to transform that social aspect of the downtrodden wananchi who need us?
Well, I think it is a very important question to think about. Of course, my perspective is that us being an agricultural economy, we need to preserve the environment. When you look at Uganda, according to our energy balances, 86% of the energy consumed is actually biomass. That means if you are consuming biomass, you must cut down a tree, and that is very dangerous. Engineers must come on board to devise means of transforming the practice of, is it possible, for example, to cook with electricity or other alternative energies?
Okay.
We have heard of briquettes, we have heard of biogas, we have heard of LPG, or call it gas cooking. Today we can even cook using solar technology. So it is the role of engineers, because you cannot say stop cooking using biomass without providing a solution. Therefore, as engineers, it is our role to make sure that technology is available.
Fine.
And at first I talk about economical. It should be cost effective. So it is our role to devise technologies which are not expensive or which are easily adaptable to every Ugandan. I hope I've tried to answer your question.
Thank you very much, David. Now I think we get back to the drawing table, because you are talking about engineers. And I'm getting to a lecturer, one who brings up engineers, teaches them, nurtures them, brings them on board. But while some are already with you, Kathy, there are those who are down there as children, as youth. They are in secondary schools. How do they know how to get towards engineering? And I'm sure they are together with the teachers and the parents. Maybe you can enlighten us a bit of the career guidance. What do they need to know if they are going towards engineering?
Yeah, now, oftentimes when we hear of the release of P7 results, we hear the best performing children saying, I want to be an engineer. Sometimes they don't even know what engineering is about, but they have heard about an engineer, maybe somebody who made something that was brought to their home and delivered, and he had the father call him an engineer, and he admired. So first of all, for any profession, I think children begin by admiring the profession. And how do they get to admire? When they see a person practicing that. But sometimes even when they see, they run away, like when children see a doctor in hospital and soon a nurse comes, injects them, they say no, they run away. But when the doctor is looking appealing, they want to be there. And oftentimes today, the children who are privileged to be exposed to technology, they have seen things. I have a 4-year-old nephew who is into robotics. He meets you, he wants you to buy him a robot. And I'm getting to feel that maybe something is coming up in that little boy. But also, if we don't nurture that interest, if we don't bring out an awareness of the profession to such a child, that initial interest can get lost. So children oftentimes choose to be engineers when they have a relative, maybe even a father, a mother, an uncle who is an engineer. They have a family friend who is an engineer, or they have known of somebody famous who is an engineer. So they get to develop that interest. Some of them hear about engineering from school. When you get into school, you're doing mathematics, technical subjects, very well science, and then somebody will mention that these are going to be engineers, and then the thought comes. Some may hear from the media, okay? This is engineering. Today, some may be hearing us, and they will say, I want to be an engineer like that lady, like that gentleman, okay? So we need to be intentional also in developing this interest. We need to go forward with information that is tailored to nurturing this interest. As I said earlier, sometimes this interest starts, then it dies when it's not supported.
Now tell us, like the youngsters, senior one, what kind of subjects would you advise, since you are an engineer? What are the subjects that they need to concentrate on in order to go towards the engineering fields?
In senior 1, senior 2, and the whole of secondary school, the focus, if you're developing into engineering as your area of training in higher education, should be mathematics, physics. Those are the core. Mathematics, physics, chemistry. Okay? Then you will get other
like technical drawing later?
Technical drawing,
yeah.
You have even agriculture and so forth. But the key subjects to be an engineer are physics, mathematics, chemistry. And actually, the youngsters should be made to know that there are different routes to really having an enriching engineering career.
So I think, so for the socio-economic transformation, we've talked about it, that we don't have the numbers, we need the numbers, isn't it?
Yes.
And this is what we are training. But even when we have the numbers, and we have the engineers, and we have the technicians and technologists, I think when we get Ronald, in his capacity as the registrar of the Engineers Registration Board, you may want to tell us, does it stop there? The engineers graduated, or the technician, do they need to go through any capacity building programs? What do you do for them in order to get the numbers that we're talking about to take us to that socio-economic transformation? Or are you inhibiting them and stopping them from training, and then we stay with a few numbers? Over to you, Ronald.
Thank you, moderator. Yeah, like you've stated, we shouldn't stop at the skilling at the university. Engineering is a science which is developed in the field, actually. When a technician, a technologist, or an engineer leaves school, they go and work. And the actual engineering begins when they are working and solving problems for the society. And the theory we learn from school is made good when we practice it in the field. So an engineer continues training even after university. You'll note that we normally, as ERB, we normally grow these technicians and technologists through the engineering role. They will work under a registered engineer. For example, if someone graduates today, they'll have at least about 4 years where they come out as a graduate engineer, but they develop their skills in the field through training. So the engineers like Hans, yourself, who has been around for quite some time, I'm not saying you have been around for long, but for just quite some time, you will have seen a lot. You have seen designs. You have looked at so many projects you have handled. So this young man or young lady will work under Hans for some time and get those skills. But also doesn't stop there. When that person is eventually registered, they'll continue getting capacity building through continuous professional development. And this is done by the Institute of Professional Engineers, that UIPE, under the Engineers Registration Board stewardship. So engineers, we normally continue training them. And when we talk about engineers, we also need to add the other support services they get from the technicians and the technologists. I think, moderator, what we are struggling with currently in Uganda is that the number of technicians and technologists are going down. And most of them want to transform into engineers. And yet for an engineering project or an engineering role to be supported, you need more technicians to one engineer. Like if you have one engineer, you should be able to have about maybe 25 technicians. Then below the technicians, you'll have maybe another 30 or 40 technologists. So that on a project, if you look at the Nile Bridge, of course you'll see the engineer on top, but you'll find there is someone who was tightening the bolts, someone who was mixing the concrete, someone who was measuring how much cement to put in after the engineer has done the design. So as a profession, we need to train as many as possible in those fields so that we continue with the pyramid kind of arrangement, so that we have many more technicians and technologists and maybe a few engineers. But also as a country, we still have a gap. Like my sister here presented, there is a certain minimum number of engineers we want to have, a ratio of engineers to the population we have. Currently, Uganda, I think, are not doing too well. We have a ratio of 1 engineer to 34,000 Ugandans. So as here, I have 34,000 Ugandans I'm supposed to serve. She has 34,000, you 34,000. So that's not a ratio we should be happy about. So we need to train more engineers, get them registered so that we reduce that ratio. So the more engineers we have supporting the population, the more development the country will get. They always have skills to pass on to the others and ensure that we get this development that we deserve, and it has to be sustainable. So that pyramid has to be maintained for us to continue developing the country.
Thank you. Thank you. I am getting from you that maybe we need to go to case studies. What are the particular examples we can give to date where possibly we are successful to date, and I think I want David to take it on, and then the other colleagues can chip in. Let's look at some case studies where engineering is taking place, engineering is taking part, and we are mindful of the future. Are we enough? Are we doing what we should be doing? And maybe you can talk about some case studies in the energy sector, and we can go to the other ends.
Okay, thank you, moderator.
Yeah.
I just want to take you one step back.
Okay.
You know, there is a saying, or not actually a saying, but an observation which may be true, and I have seen it in every challenge we are facing. Most likely you need an engineer's intervention to solve that. Let's take an example of climate change.
Yeah.
In the challenge of climate change we are facing, we need interventions of engineers at most of the stages we are at.
In which way?
Because you need to restore nature, for example. For me, I am passionate about my country. We are an agricultural economy. We grow crops, we rear animals. Agriculture depends on the availability of rain and also some bit of sunshine when you need it. Now, if you are to allow this nature to restore by itself, then you need engineers' interventions to design new systems, come up with new technologies to change the status quo. If cutting down forests is the problem, is it true that you just need to stop people from cutting down forests?
So what
or
do
they
we
are
do?
cutting them down because they are seeing it is the only option? Now, one case study I want to bring on board is energy for cooking. Our history is that we have been using 3-stone cooking fire, open fire. At some point, we saw the use of the metallic cook stove. Then at some point in the early 2000s, we started being innovative in order to reduce on how much biomass we use by bringing on board improved cook stove which use fired clay to mitigate or to improve on the efficiency of the stove. Then at this point we are saying, can we really shift from using biomass to other alternatives? And this is an engineer's challenge. Where are the devices? What is the technology we are using? If we have this sunshine, which can be used by the solar technology, is it possible for the common person in the village to cook using solar? So engineers have to come up with solutions.
Are we? Are they?
And
Ugandan?
I think we are coming up with solutions. Today you can cook using solar technology.
Oh.
If we have a lot of waste next to us, we even generate a lot of waste in our household. Can we have technologies to convert this waste into energy for cooking? We have seen people come up with technologies for biogas generation, which can be used for cooking, and these are engineers' challenges.
Are you telling us that to date,
yes,
we can use waste?
Exactly.
These are the case studies we are.
Now we also have seen briquettes. Some of us have used them, and we know they work.
What are briquettes?
Briquette is charcoal made out of waste by compacting the different waste you have and make it charcoal. So we have seen this biomass which has been compacted into fuel for cooking. We also have our oil in the Albertine Graben coming out soon, and therefore we should expect LPG. Therefore, where are the engineers to leverage on these opportunities? We have to come up with technologies, innovations to allow the common person have alternatives. And in this way, if we start shifting people from using biomass, then the forests will regenerate by themselves naturally. And one day we will go back to our original climate conditions.
Thank you.
I want to add on one small thing.
Please do.
Energy for transport. Initially, I brought out the issue that transport uses fuel, and these fuels are transformed into usable products like petrol and diesel by engineers. Is it possible, because consumption of fuels is a contributor to climate change, by emitting those dirty gases into the atmosphere, we are affecting the environment. As an engineer, I am tasked to come up with new ways of moving goods. And a few hours ago, we saw some innovations on electric mobility, using electricity to move. Today, vehicles are electric. And there's nothing which is stopping us from adapting to this so that we can have clean cities.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I think now we've talked about the engineers. Kathy, take us the engineers, women engineers. Here we are saying we don't have enough numbers. But let us wonder whether we have enough numbers when we come to women engineers. What is happening in that aspect of engineering? What do we need to do if we think that they are part and parcel of what helps us to get to the socio-economic transformation? What's on the ground and what do we need?
Thank you, moderator. When you talk of women engineers, I am glad to say that we are having an improvement. For me, today, when I compare the class I attended as an undergraduate student and the class I have today that I teach, there are more female students, but still the number is low. In a class, you will find 10% are women. And yet on the other side, we say that women are more than men in this community. And when we talk of socio-economic transformation, if you look at our community, there is a lot of burden on a woman. And I believe when we increase the number of women engineers, they will understand better how to improve their situation on the other side. For instance, when we talk of cooking, I and many of my sisters do not want to continue cooking in a dirty environment of holding charcoal. We want to work on our nails, okay? And we are also working now. We don't want to spend hours cooking one meal, okay? Of course, we remain women. We still have to cook, okay? We still have to manage our homes. But we want to have engineered products that help us perform our work. And sometimes, by the way, if we don't work towards this, the men don't understand. They will tell us this is supposed to be done by a woman, the tedious work and so forth. Today, we have many of the rural women walking to gardens in the morning with a hand hoe, digging one hole at a time, spending hours in the garden. Their backs are getting, you know, when they get older, they are always complaining of the back. And I believe it has come from a long time of digging with the hand hoe, the posture. You know, so when we have more women in engineering, we look at how to what? Improve the situation. And really, this is what we're talking of holistically as socio-economic development.
Kathy, take me back to the women engineers.
Now,
what are you doing to develop them? Do we have them in numbers?
Interesting.
Yes.
Actually, there is an aspect of getting into engineering training and completing engineering training. Okay? And I believe that the numbers of women in engineering training are increasing because of also the government strategy on increasing the importance of science. So as I told you earlier, physics, chemistry, mathematics in earlier times used to be perceived as difficult subjects. Indeed, myself and many other women share this statement that people will say when you're doing engineering, hey, that's the profession for men. So for now, as I speak now, I am the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering at Chambogo University. The Dean Faculty of Engineering in Makerere is also a woman. So I believe we are speaking to women, and I know many other practicing engineers who are women. So I know that girls are seeing us and they are picking interest. And those sentiments that this is difficult for a woman is going down. Now, we just have to increase the number of women enrolling into engineering training. We have to deliberately increase that number, and we at our faculty have even started a female student mentorship program, because for those that we have, when they progress well in the villages they come from, in the towns they come from, when people see them and hear their story, more girls will be inspired.
So you're telling us, Kathy, as a dean, that women numbers are few, we still have to increase them. Yes. I'd like actually to request the registrar of all engineers, not only we are going to the numbers, let's think of numbers. What do we have as numbers available for the engineers, technologists, technicians, and what do you think we still need? Do we still need more? Please, let's delve a little bit into numbers and what we have on board, and then we shall go to how do we get them.
Thank you, Hans. I want to begin from where Catherine has stopped. Actually, lady engineers do wonders when they are given assignments. Like you have noted, they are now leading engineering at our most prestigious institutions of learning, Makerere and Chambogo. And when they decide to do something, the lady engineers, they do it to perfection. I think that's a gift God gave to ladies more than us. I don't know why God actually gave them much more in that area than us. If we can petition him, he could add us some more. But whatever they do, when they decide to do it passionately and they deliver it. We also know the head of UCC, she's a lady engineer, Irene Kagwase Wankamba, and we see how she has managed to handle that very delicate and very difficult and very technologically sophisticated institution. So lady engineers are doing wonders, but when you come to our register of engineers in Uganda, we are not very proud to tell you that they are less than 10%. 10% are the engineers we have on the register. If we talk in terms of numbers, we are talking about 100 engineers on a register, which is just over 1,000 active. So more than 900 are men, and the 100 are ladies.
So it's just a tenth.
It's just a tenth.
10%.
Yeah, but what is encouraging is that those 100 where they are, they are very, very impactful. What they are doing is being felt. Recently, I have seen a number of them actually in districts. We have district-led engineers who are heading the district local governments as the engineers, even municipalities, including
out
some
of
the
115 or so districts. About how many ladies do we have? 96?
I have met about 5 ladies. I know the
ladies.
one who is in Mbarara City is a lady, Uganda and other districts. So we are building up, looking at the numbers we have on the register and how many are in these positions.
So they are really few.
They are few, but they are impactful where they are. So
Take us to the general membership.
So the general membership
numbers,
of
yes.
engineers, numbers, we are not proud in Uganda and in the community of East Africa. We have, I think, the least number of engineers registered, 1,400. 1,400 is what we have currently on our register.
Yeah.
And we have been around since 1969. If we compare with Kenya, Kenya is at about 2,500. Tanzania is beating all of us. There are over 5,000 engineers registered in Tanzania. And Rwanda is about 1,400 as well. So our numbers, though are low, we are trying to build them up, but also I think it's also a challenge in the community and in the developing world that we have much lower numbers of engineers. So as a body, ERB, and of course in the community under the mutual agreement where all registrars of the community are working, we are trying to boost these numbers of engineers because we all know for us to develop as a region and as a country, we need engineers at the helm of our socio-economic development. Like most of my panelists have presented, you'll notice that the engineers are needed in every aspect of our development. Agriculture, infrastructure, universities, manufacturing, everywhere we need engineers. So we need to build numbers, and as a board, we are doing more training. We are working with the Institute of Professional Engineers to identify engineers, especially as they leave universities. We have also noted the gap of technicians and technologists who have been practicing but were not registered. So we have started to get them registered. We are regulating them so that we can build from the technicians, from the technologists, and we get as many more engineering professionals as possible. So the board is on the right path to increase these numbers.
Now tell us, I think we have agreed, or we have told the public, that there's a big role engineers need to play. You are talking of 1,500 registered engineers, but you are saying those are too few. You are saying you should get towards 5,000, 10,000.
Yeah.
What is stopping the Engineers Registration Board? What is stopping the engineering Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers? What are the problems that you need to surmount in order to get enough numbers of the engineers, technicians, and technologists so that you can move the country to achieve this socio-economic, if we are going to use science, technology, and innovation as the theme of this discussion is?
Moderator, thank you for that. Initially, we had one university. Come again? Initially, we had one university, which was Makerere, so we are training few. Then we got a second one, Chambogo. Now we have quite a number of engineering universities, and all these are accredited now with National Council for Education. So with the increased number of universities, we should be able to churn out a good number of engineers. And when we churn these out and we give them chance, one of the challenges now we had, which we need to look at and how to handle them, when we churn out these engineers, they need to get chance. They need to get an opportunity to work in the field. Our government, and especially this ministry, can lead, the Ministry of Science and Technology. If we have our industries, if we have Kira Motors, which is manufacturing cars, vehicles, buses, and all this, we should get our graduate engineers and involve them at the grassroots. They start learning those skills. If we have projects, we are doing the expressways, we are doing the standard gauge railway, we are doing the flyovers in Kampala. As we channel these engineers from the universities, we should have a policy, a deliberate policy, to train them, to skill them. So as many are skilled through these many projects which the country is doing, we should be able to increase our numbers. Because like I said earlier, engineering is a skill you acquire, you become competent when you practice. So if we get as many engineers as possible to do training on actual projects in the field, we should be able to get a good number of them get registered with us, and it will take them not more than 4 years to get registered. So I'm looking at the next few years, 5-10 years, if we continue at this path and this policy which we think can develop and get us more engineers, we should be able to quadruple our numbers in less than 10 years.
Thank you. I think I want to get to David, since you are more or less in the Ministry of Energy, in the ministry. I think I want us to add to that, to the numbers, to what are these, are they specialists that we need in the energy sector? Do we have them? Are these common professions like in the energy sector? But are they enough in order to move towards this socio-economic transformation? What would you be saying that we need, the ministry needs, and actually Uganda needs?
Thank you so much. He has hinted on a very important point. Since 1969, there has been engineering training.
Yeah.
We have civil engineers, we have mechanical engineers, we have electrical engineers, and all other engineering fields which have emerged.
Yeah.
In the energy sector, we need all these engineers. We need all of them. And when you look at the numbers, of course, they are not entertaining. They are too, we are too few to boast about. And I think that deliberate policy to train is very good, but also a deliberate policy to make sure that these engineers continue practicing engineering is very important. Look at somebody whom you have trained, and you have this person, you want him to continue practicing in the same field, trying to support the country to move to the next level of economic development. If you don't have a deliberate policy to continuously develop the profession of anybody, then you will end up having outdated engineers. Let me put that in quotes. Outdated means you are not continuously developing your capacity to come up with new ideas.
Let me put it this way.
Yes.
You are saying we need the policies.
Exactly.
Do we have them? Or once policies are in place, you need to facilitate so the policies are fulfilled. Do we have that fulfillment?
We have some, but maybe they are not adequate, because we have these training committees in a number of government ministries, for example, and maybe there is addition to these policies which are there. We train, but is it deliberate to train and retrain and continuously develop such that whoever we train remains up to date, current, come up with new ideas, new innovations, new technologies. So I think what is not in place is the adequate policy, but we have some policies to train.
Fine.
Yes.
I think let me take back to the to Kathy. I think in your role as a lecturer, as a teacher, you receive one time their kids through secondary school, through HSC, and at the university. And as we know, engineering, if you didn't have good laboratories down there, or at the university level, or anywhere, if you didn't have good teachers, if you didn't have, do you feel that the crop you have, do you feel that the facilitation that you have from the university down, backwards, are they enough to get us towards the social and economic transformation of having the good engineers we're talking about, the good technologists and technicians? By the way, technologists and technicians, we talk about people who have got diplomas, who are doers, who have got certificates, and they are the hands-on. Then they work hand in hand with engineers. Tell me your shortfalls that you think government or policymakers should work on.
I need to start by appreciating before I raise the problem. Recently, the government ran a project of equipping science training facilities in all public universities. Five public universities benefited from this HEST 5 project. And the engineering and science training facilities were equipped. But as you've said, it's not enough. It's not enough. And just as Engineer Birumas said, we need updated engineers. At the university, for instance, we train, but we also carry out research. And in engineering, we do research and development. All these new things we see around us are products of research and development. Engineers are central in developing new efficient systems. We are talking about the electric car now. It's a product of research and development. And actually, even as we think of where we are, we don't have the privilege to lag behind the world today, because we are a global village. You know, all these cars we are driving now, most of us are driving now because we are buying second-hand vehicles. If the West goes to electric cars, we are going to have electric cars here. Okay. So we should be able to use electric cars beyond even our own Kira Motors product. So we have to move with the world. We are in the digital world today, digital connectivity. In this COVID-19, it has taught us. Today, our children in the rural areas are at home not learning. The ones in the towns are trying with the internet, you know, they are learning. So we have to move and move very fast. And as engineers, we are central in this.
I would like to
and
thank
our
you.
Facilities for training, I know that they are not sufficient, even not, we don't even have the basic in some cases, but we have to be deliberate and improve our training.
Thank
because
you very much,
human
Kathy.
capital development is very important.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Time is not on our side. Would like to end up this panel of discussion. We've discussed the role of engineering in the social and economic development, transformation, and we have labored to show that engineering is very important. Engineers are needed. I think I want to give each of you, the panelists, Engineer Ronald Namutevi of the Registrar Engineers Registration Board, 1 minute to sum up.
Thank you, moderator. In that 1 minute, I think I want to remind the viewers and everyone who's been watching is that we know engineering is an enabler in any society, in any world that wants to develop. We need engineers, and these are at the helm of all aspects of our lives. So engineering is very vital in all aspects.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me go to David. Sum up. David, the Acting Commissioner and Minister of Energy, an engineer by profession. Sum up.
Well, I want to sum up by saying that energy is just one aspect that can propel Uganda to the next level for socio-economic development. We need to use energy sustainably for our own benefit, and we have to be mindful of the environment.
Thank you. Last but not least, our female great engineer, Kathy from the Dean of Chambogo. Sum up, please.
I'd like to tell our viewers, especially the young ones, that choose engineering as a profession to pursue. It's interesting. Everything around us is facilitated by engineering for us to have a comfortable life. Thank you.
Being your moderator, Engineer Hans JWB Mwesigwa, I do sincerely believe that it's high time Ugandans, spearheaded by engineers, technicians, and technologists, developed the habit of modernizing our indigenous construction methods, manufacturing, production, and utilize our locally available resources of land, manpower, and materials. And we thank you very much, viewers.
Fifthly,
I hope I'm sorry for
no.
this man refused to give us more time. So if I didn't, yes.
And also joining us
that come the kino kiri nga bwe kiri mwaka wane kololo abeere ku mu 20
Day for Peace and Development. Day for Peace and Development. Day for Peace. Day for Peace and Development is annually celebrated on the 10th of November globally. It was initiated by UNESCO in 1937 in a bid to recognize and promote science technology in the advancement of societies. The international theme for this year's World Science Day is the future of science, technology, and innovation, impacts on education, skills, and work. In Uganda, we have domesticated this theme, and the theme of our Science Week and the World Science Day celebrations, which will take place here on Wednesday, is the future of science, technology, and innovation in Uganda, breaking the silos and leveraging synergies for a skilled and sustainable workforce for national economic transformation. We chose this theme because it is aligned with the ongoing efforts to address some of the constraining fragmentation and silos and gaps that have characterized science, technology, and innovation in our country. And it also reflects the progress so far made in building synergies to create a very well-coordinated national science, technology, and innovation system, which is focused on a common prioritized agenda. During this National Science Week, it is co-hosted with the STI, together with private sector foundation, in partnership with a vast variety of institutions across the nation, and also independent innovators. Then Uganda, like many other countries, we also recognize and celebrate and promote the National Science Week, preceding the World Science Day. The aim is for us to be able to bring science out. Many times science takes place behind doors. And this week helps us to exhibit and help people who don't usually see the science to see it. For this year's National Science Week, we have the following objectives. We want to showcase the existing scientific innovations. We want to create awareness about the new national science, technology, and innovation system, which is not just siloed in a government office, but it has tentacles throughout all the key players in the nation. We want to advocate for increased government and stakeholder collaboration. We want to promote domestic science literature And during this week, we shall be launching some books, textbooks specifically written by Ugandans. This year's Science Week brings together academia, researchers, the business community, students, community innovators, and other professionals from different places that contribute to the development of our science, technology, and innovation sector. The celebrations of this week enables different stakeholders to appreciate the role of building science technology and making sure that we have a scientific labor force and the economy of the country and invite them into this space to contribute. As you are aware, usually science is competing with the needs of today, yet science is building for the future. So there is usually a temptation to prioritize today's needs and ignore science, which is building the future. And when you reach that future which we were supposed to build, that future is not there. So we want to make sure that we exhibit and showcase science. The Science Week has been planned to involve multiple activities, many of which have already been ongoing. And these include the Uganda Science Innovators Award 2021. As part of this year's celebrations of the National Science Week and World Science Day for Peace and Development, STI launched the inaugural Uganda Science Innovator Awards. The activity started on the 15th of October to celebrate Ugandan innovators, innovation efforts, as well as to inspire our young people. The awards along the 6 prioritized industrial value chains, which I'll describe shortly. This process has progressed. It was in 6 stages. The first stage was the nomination, which was completed on the 24th of October. Preliminary assessment and creating a long list was completed on the 26th of October. Stage 3 was shortlisting the top 6 in each category, and this was completed on the 28th of October. Stage 4 was live pitching. Those people, the 6 in each category who went through up to the shortlist, they had to present a live pitch to a panel of experts, which took place on the 1st and 2nd of November at Makerere University. Stage 5 was the public vote, where now the top 3 that emerged from the live pitching were presented to the public to vote, and that ended yesterday at midnight. And the last stage is going to be on Wednesday here, when the winners will be awarded by His Excellency. I want to state that all those who successfully submitted an innovation will receive some kind of support. Now we know your innovation exists. We shall examine, we shall reach out to you to see how we can support you to improve your innovation so that you can enter the next round. Those who are shortlisted, they will be offered, they have been all offered a slot to exhibit their innovations here, together with all the other innovations. And they will be part of the guests that will be here on Wednesday. The second activity is this one, where we have an exhibition. The purpose of this exhibition is to show where we are. Where are we? That's the first thing. Where are we? Because sometimes many people are so negative about our abilities, not just as Ugandans, but as Africans. I say no to that mindset. Uganda can, Africa can, and we are going to do it. I just want to invite you into that space of faith. We are going to do it. We cannot allow to leave our countries as underdeveloped. It is us, the citizens, who must take on this responsibility and set our face like flint and not be distracted until we achieve the goal for a science-led socio-economic transformation of our nation. This particular exhibition opens today, and it will be open to the public today and tomorrow, and it will be patronized by the President. The President will be here on Wednesday to see and to go through all these exhibitions and everything. This particular exhibition, which we have nicknamed Yugatech Nation, it has 6 cities. There are 6 cities in this nation. Each city is built around an industrial value chain. The cities represent economies, which we have seen as, if we can put them at the forefront, they will begin to lift our nation technologically and begin to expand our economy. They represent the technological advancements so far made and the vision of where we are going. Each of these cities has a Lord Mayor. If the Lord Mayors can stand up for recognition. Each city has a Lord Mayor, Pathogen Economy Lord Mayor, Mobility Lord Mayor, Apparel Lord Mayor, it's not yet here, Engineering Economy, Digital Economy, City, so agro-security. These represent entire, and each of the cities has an executive director. These two provide both the political and technical leadership for the city, and we shall have an evaluation team. The winning city will receive an award. And the Minister's City Award. So this, the pathogen economy, some of these terms are new. What is the pathogen economy? The city of the pathogen economy showcases an economy built on innovations and technology targeting disease control and management. The innovations include vaccines, therapeutics, diagnostics, biomedical ICT, equipment, and materials that are related to the management or control of disease and disease-causing agents. Pathogen economy, where is the city? The first city. Agro-security economy is the next city. Whereas Uganda is an agricultural nation, we have focused on primary production and sale of primary products. This city showcases innovations designed to drive the next generation of the agroeconomy. It includes innovation and technology in agro-processing, agribusiness, soil management, soil conservation, agriculture technologies, food preservation, and safety applications, among others. It also includes innovations designed to support the parish development model. Beauty and apparel is the next city. They move from that side. Innovators in this area include the cosmetology and textile processing. We look at innovations for skincare, products for hair, for textiles, for leather, and we are looking at fabric and thread production. We are looking at fabric recycling, textile production, technology, and value addition. See, learn, network, and be inspired to participate in this fast evolving transformation. Then the last activity is the World Science Day celebrations. The events will culminate into the celebration of the World Science Day for Peace and Development here on these grounds on Wednesday, 10th November, presided over by His Excellency, starting at 10 a.m., but those who are invited, we request you to be in here by 8 a.m. Due to the limitations imposed by COVID-19, we are unable to invite very many people to that particular day. However, these 2 days are open, and I invite Ugandans to make sure that they come and familiarize themselves. In conclusion, I want to say there is no single nation that has developed without moving their science, technology, and innovation forward. If we want to transform this nation, we have to take the bull by the horns and move science and put it at the forefront and really set our face to make science drive socio-economic transformation and industrialization. And this is going to call for a very decisive action. And in this regard, as Science, Technology and Innovation at Office of the President, we appreciate your support in driving the national STI agenda. With these remarks, I would like to declare the National Science, Technology and Innovation Exhibition officially open for God and my country.
Let's all of us stand and come and be part of this session like this.
This flag is not just for this exhibition, but it is flagging of science, technology, and innovation in the new speed that it is supposed to move and take the country alongside with it. There we go! We go! So thank you so much. Enjoy the show.
A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for the Honorable Minister. Thank you so much for flagging this wonderful thing. Of course, we want to thank everybody for being part. Now, right there, squeeze in and let's have a photo so that this day is memorable. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Hello. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. A round of stall. All innovators, go back. Go back to your stall. Go back to your stall so that the minister will find you there. So that the minister will find you there.